With the holidays right around the corner, keeping stress in check for us and our kids can seem like a pretty tall order. And so for right now, I'd just like you to sit back, relax, take a deep breath, okay, and just kind of let go of any worries that you have weighing on your mind right now. I've got some great tips and strategies and suggestions to offer to you today that I think are really going to help you keep your holiday on track. What kids need in order to thrive during the holiday season. There are three core principles, three core areas that really impact them. That sense of belonging and family connection. The message we want to give kids is that the love and importance we have in each other's lives is going to endure. It's ongoing, and you are always going to be mom and dad to your kids. However, how we navigate the holiday can either reinforce that sense of belonging and connection, or it can cultivate some doubt and worry for kids. Another very significant factor is how are we protecting our kids from tension and conflict? We definitely don't want kids to be caught in the middle of that. However, we know that the holidays can be a hotbed for stirring up unresolved feelings, for parents feeling a little stressed out. And sometimes that stress isn't because of the negotiations you have going on with the other parent. Sometimes there may be other important people in your children's lives who can stir the pot a little, maybe grandparents, aunts, uncles, when we're talking about past holiday traditions and honoring them. So there's a lot of different dynamics that come out over the holidays. And to the best of our ability, we want to shield kids from any potential conflict. Another key factor is kids knowing what to expect. Now we know that the holidays mean change for kids on multiple levels, not just their day-to-day routine, but we're also talking about celebrating the holidays differently, spending time with mom and dad differently, how we handle family traditions. All of those changes really can impact kids. So today, I'm going to talk more specifically about ways that we can help prepare our kids for different. I'd like to spend quite a bit of time, because this is a really important issue, talking with you about gift-giving etiquette. Now, I can tell you in all my years of teaching parents, this topic is certainly an issue that leaves parents sitting up a little straighter in their chairs. And the reason for that is, I think, is because we have a lot of emotions connected to gift giving. It reflects our values and how we see ourselves and how we see our relationship with others. So this can be a real touchy issue, very delicate. One of the best and most ideal situations for kids, however, is when parents can consult one another before buying. Now, I know it's a little late in the holiday season and you may have already made your gift purchases, so it might be something that you just want to make a mental note of for the next year. How will you handle gift giving? Is there any way to plan ahead with the other parent? Now, this isn't always a big issue for folks, because sometimes, as I said, our gift giving, the way we approach that reflects our values and beliefs, or maybe our personalities. And you may have parents that have very different ways of being. You may have one parent that's very oriented towards technology and another that's very outdoorsy and likes taking kids camping and canoeing. And so the types of gifts that we might purchase for kids would be very different. However, other ways that I have seen parents approach this issue is some parents have a very workable relationship, and they may consult one another not only about what they're buying, but choose to give joint gifts. And I think that if you present those gifts as something from mom and dad, that can be really beneficial for kids. Now, if you have an ex who's not willing to consult, maybe there's some tension in your relationship, they don't want to share information, they've told you in no uncertain terms they don't really care what you buy, it's none of your business, then I would suggest that you do your best to purchase responsibly and definitely save receipts. So that way, if kids do get double presents, well, then you have some options on resolving those issues for kids so they don't feel conflicted. Another really big issue is, where do gifts live? And I tell you, there are so many parents that struggle with this. You know, it's very difficult to think about giving our children a really nice, possibly expensive gift and see it disappear over to the other household, never to be seen again. Now, there's a lot of feelings we have about that. We want to see our kids enjoy the gifts and the presents that we give them. But I really encourage you to think about it from your child's perspective. So, bear with me for just a minute. Let's say, suppose that your boss came up to you and said, you know what, you have been such a fantastic employee that we want to give you a gift. Here you go. Here's the keys to a brand new red convertible sports car, top of the line, fully loaded. It's yours, our gift from us to you, because we really value you. And anytime you're here at work, you can drive that car all around the parking lot. Well, heck, you can even go down the block and get lunch if you want. Enjoy it as much as you want when you're here, but just keep in mind, it doesn't leave, the parking lot. You'll have a special parking spot. It can be here for you. Use it as much as you want. Our gift to you. Now, my guess is you're probably not going to think that that feels very much like a gift. Or if it does feel like a gift, it's a gift with some serious strings attached. And the same is true for our kids. When we hand over something to our kids and we say, here's your Christmas present, but it can never leave this house. It can never go to mom or dad's. That's really not a gift. Now, one question that parents typically raise is, well, is it ever okay to give my kids something that stays at my house? And certainly it is, but it depends on how you are presenting it to kids. It's very different to say to kids, you know what, when you're spending time here and we're together, we don't have a whole lot that we can do. So why don't we go out to the store and maybe we'll get a basketball, a baseball glove, maybe a bat and a ball, and we can go to the park sometimes, maybe practice hitting home runs or shoot some hoops. That communicates a very different message to kids. That says to kids, you belong here, we're a family, this is your home, and I am providing things to make home a comfortable place for you. That is certainly very, very different than saying, here's your present, it can never leave. One communicates that, there's a battle going on and the lines have been drawn. And the other one is really reinforcing those concepts we talked about feeling connected and a strong sense of family. On the flip side of this gift-giving dilemma of not giving gifts with strings, we also don't want to set the other parent up to be the bad guy. And what I mean by that is intentionally giving kids gifts that we know the other parent's not going to be okay with. So again, bear with me. Let's just take a little example. Let's say 12-year-old Lily feels like she's old enough for a cell phone with a data plan, but mom has a real issue about Lily having access to the World Wide Web on the fly. Well, Dad knows how much Lily really, really wants a phone and a data plan, so he decides to be the good guy and give her that phone she's been waiting for. What kind of situation could that create for Lily and Mom? Probably Mom's going to be pretty ticked that she's been hung out to dry and made the bad guy in this situation, and she and Lily very well may go head to head battling over what's going to happen with the cell phone. So Dad really hasn't done Lily any favors. Keep in mind that sometimes the tables can get turned, and when you're setting a limit with kids, you certainly want the other parent to be supportive of you. So, bottom line, do your best not to undermine the other parent, whether it's a puppy or a gaming system or a cell phone with a data plan. If the other parent isn't okay with it, do your best to be respectful of that. We all know that kids really love to do special things for the people that are important in their lives. And when you're in a married relationship, when special occasions come up, like the holidays, we support our children in doing special and nice things for their other parent. When parents separate and are no longer in the same household, sometimes that stops. And I really encourage parents to think about that because, again, while the marriage has ended, your children's need for family continues. So when it comes down to that big question, should I be buying a Christmas gift for my ex so that my kids have something to give? I would say it's probably a good idea. First, it sends a message that you value your child's relationship with the other parent, but it's also, helping kids build a really important skill, and that skill is thinking about others. Now, if you have a tight budget, or you don't feel comfortable shopping for the other parent, then you can always help the kids do something else that's special. Maybe make a homemade gift, a card. They could decorate a Christmas ornament. There's lots of different ways that kids can feel special about making a present for a parent on Christmas. Along with that, just another side note that I'd like to add is that if your ex has remarried or recoupled, don't exclude step parents, bonus parents, or other significant adults who might be celebrating with your kids over the holidays. For kids to show up with a present for their parent, but no one else, puts them in a really awkward, uncomfortable position. So again, if you're not okay with buying individual gifts, then pick an appropriate gift that you can give to everyone. So maybe one thing you could do is, for example, buy all the ingredients to make a pancake breakfast and make a basket for Christmas morning so the kids can bring something that they can do all together and create that special memory of cooking pancakes Christmas morning with mom or dad. If the other parent doesn't reciprocate, and this is kind of a common issue, parents say all the time, Christina, I'm taking that higher road. I help my kids shop, but my ex absolutely refuses to do that. Well, again, the reason you help your kids is not so that your ex is going to sing your praises over the holiday season. It's because it's a good thing to do for your kids. So even if you're trying really hard to do right by your children, you really don't have any control over the choices that your ex is making. So what can you do instead? Well, if your ex isn't willing, you can still offer your kids a chance to feel good about the day. So maybe you can get a relative to take them shopping for a special gift. You could declare with your children that you want an obscene number of hugs and kisses over the holiday season. If you have older kids, you could tell them that you'd like breakfast in bed for your Christmas present, or that you'd like to go to the movies together, but you get to pick the movie and they have to go with no complaining. So there's still a lot of ways to be creative. Just a few additional reminders about gift giving, and this is a biggie. Avoid competing with the other parent. I remember this story that a colleague shared with me, and it stayed with me over the years, about during the Christmas season, he was driving with his son, and during their car ride, the son said, Dad, this divorce thing isn't so bad. Now, very curious as to why his son would say this, he asked, well, why do you say that? And his son said, well, Dad, you and Mom are always competing to see who can get us the best gifts. And that's pretty cool. So, big lesson learned for him. Kids are keenly aware of when parents are trying to compete with one another or trying to buy their love. And I just want to emphasize to you that, while getting gifts may be really fun for kids, it's usually short-lived. And what has lasting power doesn't come in a box. It's your time and it's your attention. And those are the things that are really going to matter to your kids over the long haul. Along with that, I encourage you, and it is very, very tempting when the guilt kicks in. We feel really badly about how hard things are for our kids sometimes, or what we can't do for them, that we might feel a strong urge to overextend ourselves. And I really, really want you to think that through, because putting yourself in a difficult financial situation is not going to help your kids. So if your budget is tight, it's okay to let kids know that things may be just a little bit lean this year. And even though things are tough, again, how can you take a more creative approach and think outside the box? Now, I'll tell you, one of the most meaningful experiences to me personally, and I have done this in the past with some of the women's groups and kids groups that I've worked with, is I would have them participate in what we called a giveaway. And what a giveaway is that you ask each member of a group or family to choose one item that they're willing to give up. And it has to be something that they own. It can't be something that they went out and purchased. And it also has to have really significant meaning for them. So what you're wanting for them to do is choose something that it's kind of hard to get rid of, kind of hard to let go of because it has so much meaning. Everyone brings their wrapped gift on the day of the celebration, and you put it in the center of a circle. Then you decide how you're going to pick who's going to go first, and each person chooses a gift out of the center, unwraps it one at a time, and once it's been unwrapped, the person who brought the gift tells the story behind the gift and what it meant to them. And I can tell you that some of the most treasured gifts that I personally have ever received have been a part of those types of experiences, and I have my office decorated with them. So there are things that you can do. And that comes back to really reinforce our last point. How can you create memories with your kids? That is really what's going to stay with them. With the hustle and bustle of the holidays comes a fair amount of racing around, and we have to-do lists, we have obligations, places to be, people to see, and when parents split up, that rushing tends to intensify for kids, and kids can easily be thrown into a tailspin over the holidays. So if we want to avoid the emotional meltdowns, the temper tantrums, and the arguing, we need to give kids kind of a break. And really the biggest issue in helping kids manage transitions successfully comes down to two things. One is helping them feel prepared, and the other is giving them kind of some emotional space to really shift gears. That's what we want them to have. It's kind of like a buffer, because kids are literally transitioning from one world to the other. We have two different sets of rules, two different ways of doing things, and so kids need a way to kind of transition during that time, and we can do some things that are very helpful for them. So when we talk about transition tips, one of the things I would ask you to first do is just review your holiday schedule and assess where is it that kids might struggle, where is it that the schedule might be a little tight. So, for example, instead of pulling children from a festive holiday celebration and shuffling them out the door to mom or dad's house, you may want to say to them, before you even leave for the party, in the morning we're going to go to Aunt Sally's and we're going to be there till 3:30. And at 3:30, then we're going to go and we're going to meet mom or dad, at the house, and then you're going to spend your special time with them. As an alternative, if you know that your schedule is going to be pretty tight and the transition is the children are coming from the other parent's home to your home, you may want to build in a little buffer. Not knowing what's going on with the kids before they arrive, don't race out the door to the next event. Even if you have to delay your arrival by 15-20 minutes, give kids an opportunity to come in, greet them, give them a reminder, in 20 minutes we're going to be leaving for Aunt Sally's, so put down your things, get what you need, let's all take a big breath, and then we'll load up in the car and head over. Again, we're just trying to create some space for them to shift gears. So those are some of the ways that you can think about how you can make adjustments on your end. But we also really need to talk it up with our kids. We want our kids to be excited about some of these experiences they're going to have, and we want them to enjoy. So how is it that we can help them build memories? Well, there's a lot of different ways. For younger children, maybe one way is to buy them a holiday book, or purchase, even if it's just a little journal that you buy in the dollar store, where kids can put mementos inside, or make notes, or draw pictures of things that they did both at mom and dad's house over the holiday season. They can pack up that book in an overnight bag or in a purse and carry it with them. They can take pictures and do a photo journal of their Christmas, but what you want to do is engage them in being able to look back years from now and see what Christmas was like for them in 2011. Another big issue when it comes to transitioning that many kids struggle with is missing a parent. And I have to tell you that those feelings of being homesick or missing the parent that you're not with tend to happen around meal times and around bedtimes, because that's when things are kind of slowing down, and kids really associate those times with being a family. So some of that sadness may, rear its head during the holiday season. If you know that your kids are going to struggle and they may miss you over the holiday season, there are lots of different things that you can do to help them out with that. One of the things that you could do is you could get a special stuffed animal, or give your children something that belongs to you that they can take with you to the other parent's house. I know when I was doing a speaking tour in London, our youngest daughter, who was probably about 8 at the time, was having a lot of anxiety about me being gone. And I was gone for, about 3 weeks, so it was a pretty significant time for us. One of the things that we did together is she gave me one of her favorite stuffed animals. It was a stuffed panda named Ming. And I made a promise to her that I was going to take Ming on the best adventure she'd ever had. And so while I was in London, I was able to take pictures of different things that Ming did and send my daughter emails. And when we would talk on the phone, we could talk about how Ming was behaving and using her manners and the things that she got to do and see. And it still is a very special memory for us. She still has a stuffed animal, and occasionally, we'll talk about Ming, and she certainly took on a personality all of her own. Another idea is, if you have young kids, you might want to do something which I've done before. It's called a miss you necklace, and you make a special little necklace on a string that kids can keep with them, and when they're missing a parent, they can put their hand over their heart and send a special love thought to that parent, or think about that parent. Another idea, I was speaking with a colleague that I thought was really completely brilliant, was they have these books that you can purchase, and you can record your voice reading a story. And I'm guessing that a lot of grandparents have purchased these books, but I think parents can too. And you could read a favorite bedtime story to your kids in your voice, and they could take the book with them. And so when they wanted to hear your voice or connect, they could take out their special book. And that's another way that you can really reinforce those connections without infringing on the other parent's time. And I know that that's a big issue, but what we're really looking to do is we want to have balance. We want to maintain that connection, but we want to have a balanced approach so that kids are able to create special memories and share special time with each parent. When we talk about spending the holiday together, we have touched on this, and I just want to, drive home a couple of points about what makes this work. Again, the most important factor in spending the holiday together is you got to keep it tension-free for kids. If mom and dad are in the same room together and they're not even looking at each other or exchanging words, that's not going to be a good situation for kids. It's not going to be a good situation if parents are making comments back and forth to each other. So you definitely want to make it a good experience. Along with keeping it tension-free, you really need to pay attention to your comfort zone and your boundaries. Listen to your gut and think ahead. What might be some rough spots for you? How can you structure the day? How can you plan for success? What do you need to do to take care of yourself during that time? And also to realize that even if things go off without a hitch, almost all kids at one time or another really have a very strong wish that things would be different. And when they see parents getting along, a lot of kids wonder, well, if you can get along now, why couldn't you just stay married? And what we want to let kids know, what we want to help them understand, is that two good people don't always make a good couple. Even though we're no longer together, we're always going to be mom and dad for you. And that's really, really important. So just be aware that kids may have that hope. They may think, we've seen all those Hallmark movies where we have a really great Christmas, and by the end of the story, everything's perfect and wonderful and everybody loves each other again. So just be aware that that's an issue for kids. And again, and one of the ways to address that is to really emphasize, even though we're no longer husband and wife, we are absolutely always, always going to be your mom and dad. Sharing information, I tell you what, that can be a real sticky situation because we want to be able to have a degree of privacy, but there are some points where, we really need to be talking to the other parent. And if you're traveling over the holidays, I would really encourage you to provide the other parent with important details. Let them know when you're leaving, what your destination is, how long you're going to be there. Definitely let them know how they can get in touch with the kids, and keep in mind that young children and sometimes even teens may need your support in connecting with the other parent. So make sure that you're facilitating that. A good rule of thumb, if you're trying to decide, is this something I should share or not share, I always suggest to parents, ask yourself, if we were still together, how would I handle this situation? If we were still together, what information would I be sharing with the other parent? And that is usually a really good way to give you the perspective you need about what kind of information to share. Really big issue for lots and lots of parents, especially if we're talking about first holidays, is handling that first holiday alone. And maybe you're not facing the holiday alone. Maybe it's that you have some anxiety about just being away from your kids at all. And there's nothing wrong with that, but you do need to pay attention to it, because the truth is that kids are very, very sensitive to our stress and anxiety. And if kids pick up on the fact that we are uncomfortable with them being gone, then they're going to worry about us. They're going to wonder, are we going to be okay? So we don't want to burden our kid or taint their QT with the other parent with worry. So no matter how sad or apprehensive you may feel, remember that you're the parent. And so what can you do? Well, you want to do your best to responsibly manage your feelings, not leave the kids wondering. And I would encourage you to, there's this thing that we have as parents, and I'm not sure how it develops, but we feel guilty about having kid-free time. Like it's a bad thing. And when in reality, it's an opportunity for us to recharge and to rejuvenate. And in doing so, we are better moms and better dads. So how can you use your time constructively? So think about that. I would like to invite you to ask yourself, when's the last time you saw a movie that you wanted to see? Is there somewhere that you'd like to go? Maybe that you haven't been before, maybe for a day trip. What's something you might like to really get done before the new year that you've been putting off? Now's your opportunity. Who are the people that you really enjoy spending time with that leave you feeling energized and alive and motivated? And when you ask yourself those questions, maybe you might get some ideas about what you can do and how you can use your time. Also want to say that it's okay to share your plans with kids. Now that doesn't mean that you shouldn't tell them that you're going to miss them, because you will, and that's normal. But you want to let them know you have a plan in place, and you definitely want to support their time with the other parent. And the way you do that is by letting them know, I'll really miss you over the holiday season, but I really, really want you to have a great time with mom or dad and enjoy your time with them. And I can't wait to hear about all the special fun stuff you do when you're at the other house. So we want to send a clear message that spending time apart and enjoying it is actually okay. Now, keep in mind, even though you may plan ahead, acknowledge your feelings, because there may be some sadness. There may be some times when, just kind of hit a bump in the road. Also, when it comes to how you spend the actual holiday, I can't tell you how many times I've heard people say, whatever you do, don't be by yourself. Find friends, find family, be with somebody. Well, I would say instead, trust your gut. What feels right for you? One of the parents that I follow on Facebook said that for their first holiday, they needed to be by themselves because being with friends just didn't feel comfortable. It didn't feel right. Their heart wasn't in it. And I think that that's okay. Remember that alone doesn't mean lonely. So trust your instincts. Think about it. If you feel like you're going to have a hard time, then connect with a trusted friend or family member. Find somebody to kind of help you sort through your feelings and what you're going to do to take care of yourself. The last thought that I would just like to leave you with before we end is that what matters most is your presence in children's lives, not the presence under the tree. Please don't underestimate the value of the little everyday things that you do with your kids this holiday season. Years from now, when they look back on this time, what they're going to remember most is how you love them, how you cherish them, the time that you spent together. So make the most of it while you can.